Hello everyone, it's Graham from Lakeside, and this is going to be the start of the new layout for this area. What I thought I'd do is just show you some of the problems I'm getting around this area just before I take it up. So I've got the Flying Scotsman on, and normally if we bring it in it should be nice and slow. Bring it into the station. So it's gone over that point okay-ish until there. Give it a little shove. It's not because of dirty track either. It's gone into there, you can hear the points going crazy. And that's because one of the sets of wheels has crossed over the frog and shorted. So we'll stop it there and reverse it. Stopped. Not only has it stopped, but it's shorted out. So just shove it along a bit. It stopped again. Now bearing in mind this has pickups on those 6 wheels plus all the wheels on the tender, so there's 8 wheels on there, 6 wheels on here, 4 pickups. Once it gets off the points it's absolutely fine. There we go, gone again, as soon as it gets on that point. And it's shorted out again. So let's take that further up. Space, leave that there. And if I bring another steam around, which is the 4MT tank, so this only has obviously 6-wheel pickup on the loco. Bang. Dead. Give it a little shove. Not good, is it? Not good. And I can't be doing with that, to be honest. Let's clear that out of the way, and what we'll do is we change the points so that I'm going from this track over to this one, and we'll bring the Flying Scotsman in on that one. So here. You just see what happens when it crosses over onto the other point. Absolutely no problem. And back again. no problem. So it's still that point, but it went over onto this part absolutely fine. But virtually every loco, not just steamers, hesitates on here. So there's a connection problem, obviously, on here, which is causing it. But as I say, I'm doing away with it anyway, because I'm getting rid of this and that, and I'm going to change these. So hopefully doing that will negate a lot of the problems I'm having, and with a bit of luck and the following wind, I will get some nice smooth running at long last through here. So anyway, I just thought I'd show you that before I started ripping it up. Okay, bye for now. Hello again. Right, carrying on from the first part of the video. So now you've seen the issues. I'm definitely going to go ahead and do it, and so what I've been doing is preparing the 4 electrofrog points. I've done 3, and this is the 4th one to do. So I thought, I'm sure everybody knows how to do it. I didn't, but I'm sure most other people did. But I thought for those who didn't, it might be interesting to see me do this one. And probably screw it up in the process, but I'll have a go without trying to screw it up. It should be fairly straightforward, but you know and I know that when you've got the camera in front of you, things go horribly wrong. What I've done is that I put the 4 points into 2 pairs. So I've got in time-honoured position where we have these 2 already done and wired up. So that's 1 pair. And the reason why I'm doing it in pairs is so that I can have the wiring correct. So that obviously the same wire goes, the same wire goes from this track onto this rail and correctly onto this rail. So that's 1 pair. So this pair, for instance, will go by the set of points which are causing me problems. So that's that set done, and I have done the 3rd one, which is the other end, which is in the kind of the middle of the platform for the head shunt. So that's 1 there, and this one will link up like that. And obviously not obviously, but the wires are changing from this pair from the other pair, because obviously they're the other hand. So what I've got to do, I've just got to make sure that I'm getting this right. So the black is on that side, so the black is on this side. But I will check that as we come to do it. Okay, so the electrofrog points. There's several things with these. There is this wire which is already fixed to the point. Just get that in focus for you. There's a bare wire there which goes up to the frog, so that you can wire that into whatever you're using to change the frog polarity. And then of course you've got 2 feeds, a left rail and a right rail, to be soldered onto here. There are also some modifications which can be done, and which I will be doing shortly. And that is, the first thing is, if you can see just there is, if I bring it up even closer, you can see 2 bits of little wire going across that rail, and that rail is that part there, and you can see it's got a gap. What you need to do is to take that wire away so that that rail is not connected to that rail, and also similarly with that rail is not then connected with that rail. All you've got is a gap. So that's the first modification to do, is to just take out those 2 links here and here. And then the next mod is to put a piece of wire from that track to this track, and from that track to that track, that rail. I keep saying track, it's rail. So you end up with a link going across there and a link going across there. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is to do the links and take off those two cables there. So let's do that first. Got the wires stuck to me. So I've pre-prepared the cables here, ready, and a piece of insulation, sorry, not heat shrink, for this bit here. And this is the point motor I'm using. It's the, I've already got the DCC concept cobalt motors, but this is the digital IP version. So the two wires, feeds, will go into here, plus the third wire, which I haven't been using on my existing ones. This one here will go into one of those slots as well, and that's what changes the polarity. It's all clever stuff. So there's no other boxes or anything you need, it's just this, and it sorts it all out magically. So let's pop that over there. So let's put on my reading glasses, because this is tiny work, and I need my reading glasses for this. So it's just for these two links here, which need to come off. I've just found that by putting a little small screwdriver underneath, lifting it up, and they come off. Sometimes they pop off very easily, sometimes you are going to get noise, by the way, because we've got doors and windows open, so it's putting some cool air through the house. So let's get these two links off. So some come off nice and easy, some hold on to the bitter end, like this one. Right, there we go. Let's get one out. Seems brutal doing this, but this is what you have to do. That's the other one. Okay, so that's those two links out. That's the first job. The next one to do is that gap, which I showed you just now. If I can see it, let's bring it in. Right, this gap in this rail, just here and here. Looking on the website, what you need to do is just put it's like this flat. Just put a small bladed screwdriver in that gap, and just make sure that gap is opened up a bit. There is now definitely a gap in those rails. If they close up, then you're going to get a dead short with the way this is going to be wired up. So you must have that gap in that rail. So that's that part taken care of. So now what I need to do is to tin these four sections of rail. So let's zoom in a bit. And to tin those in readiness for me soldering on the other links. Okay. there. Where's it gone? There. You can now see that I've got the 4 blobs of solder just here, ready to take the links, and those 2 links are gone, and a space in between the rail. And what I use for the links is this length of wire which goes to the frog. It's no need for it to be that long, so I chop it down and use the leftover for the links. Rather than cut them to size, I use it as a whole piece and just hold it, and then with the soldering iron melt the blob of solder I've just put on. Obviously being careful not to go near the plastic of the sleepers, you don't want to melt those. And I'm using quite a thin, small soldering iron here. Okay, that's one. That's fine, that's taken. So we just chop that off. Turn it round and then carry on and do the other side, the same as before. And once you've got hold of one side, you can then use the solder again on top of the tin, which I think gives you a better joint. It's got it. Perfect. Okay, so there are the 2 links done. So we don't need that piece of wire anymore. And then the remaining bit, for me anyway, you might want to do it differently, but I just bend that little piece of wire, which I couldn't get into, back on itself, so that it's nice and clean and not protruding out. Don't have to do it, but it's just me wanting to be neat. Like that. Just check that it's not above the sleepers here. So they, come on, focus. There we go. Right, so there you can see the 2 links. And that part. So that's that section done. So what I've got to do now is to tin this area here so I can pop on the feeder wires. And when you do this, if you're doing it in the position I'm doing it, as regards near the blades at the end, then the side you're going to solder, make sure that it's flipped the opposite side where you're soldering, because you don't want to solder the blade to the track. So the first part is just to tin it. Again, being careful to avoid the plastic. Turn it round, switch the blade over, and do the other side. Okay, so that's tinned. Right, so now I've got to check with this point what colour cable I need when it's joined up. So that's how it's going to go. So the one this side is black, so I want to continue that on, so this side here wants to be the black cable. So it's this one here. So I'll get my black cable, and hopefully I have already tinned. Yes, I have. So what I do when I'm doing the feeder wires, I don't like feeding on the side of the rail. I like to feed underneath, so you don't see the cable on the outside of the rail. It's a little bit more hazardous, I guess, but it makes for a neater looking connection. So what I do is that I tin the cable, I bend it to 90 degrees, and then with these I then chop off so that there's about, I don't know, 2 or 3 mil, if that. So you're left with a piece about that long. And then I wrap the cable around my hand like that, just so that it's out the way. That's all, no other reason. Then get yourself comfortable. It's quite tricky trying to get into this close area. Blob of solder on the iron, put the cable in position, and the job's a good one. Next around, the red. In my case it's the red, and obviously different colours for different people. So again, just turn this cable through 90 degrees, chop off the excess, blob of solder, so I'll just put that down a second, I'm not quite ready for that yet. Just make sure that it fits okay before trying to attempt to solder it. and then away you go, hopefully. Put a bit more solder on that. Right, so what we now have, just check and give that a gentle tug, make sure it's not a dry joint on here, and nice and firm. So what you now have is, get it in focus, come on, right. So now you have two cables which are now soldered underneath, and no messy cables coming from the side of the track. And all I need to do is obviously just drill holes when I come to position these, so that I can drop these wires through to join onto the point motor. So we're almost there. So we've got the feeds, we've done the links and the brake in here. All what's left to do is solder this piece of wire to that one, which is that will go to the common on here. So you've got the two feeds, left and right rail, and a common. But obviously, depending on what you're using, it may be different. But that's the general kind of rule of thumb. So now I'll get my other cable, which is a white cable for the common. Don't have to bend this one, I'm just going to butt joint it onto here, which will be strong enough as long as you do a good enough solder joint. No need for twisting it or anything like that. This time I'm going to use quite a bit more solder. Perfect. Okay. That's fine. And then what I do is I then get a piece of heat shrink, pop that over there, lift it up vertically, put that roughly in position, and then with the back of the iron position it near the top to get the top located, and then you can just run down with the back of your iron gradually, making that heat shrink do its job and shrink. Being careful not to damage any of the plastic, and I tend not to play around with too much heat around where the joint is. It's just a protection, that's all. And that is now ready. So I now have 4 points which are ready for, let's take this back on zoom. Now I have 4 points paired, so that's one pair, and another pair. So what I can do now is, once I've started to strip out, I haven't got to do any prep work, it's all done, and I can drop these straight in. It takes about, I don't know, you saw me do it there, 10 minutes or so to do each point. Probably other people could do it in 5 minutes. It doesn't really matter. It's just the fact that they're now ready to go straight in. Once I've got the positions and drilled the holes, that will come later. All I want to do at the moment is obviously lay the track. I'm not taking any springs out yet. You can get the springs out from the top, so it doesn't matter if they go in first. But I want to make sure that the trains run fine first before I start wiring up and putting point motors in. I would just move them by hand at the moment, and if I can get that section running smoothly, then I know I'm onto a winner, and then I can start flapping around with the wiring to the point motors. But at least the wiring's done and will be through the boards. I haven't got to lift them up again to do it. So that's it. That's all I wanted to do for today. So at least it's a start on that section. Obviously the next part of the video will be me taking that section up and relaying. So that should be good fun. Okay, so I will speak to you later. I will probably put this up tonight, and then there'll be another video when I'm starting to do the stripping of the actual track. Okay, so bye for now.